Have you ever wondered why some people treat you badly, even when you've done nothing wrong? Why certain faces turn cold when you enter the room? Why kindness is met with silence, or honesty with anger? It's easy to believe it's your fault, that you said the wrong thing, or you're simply not enough. But most of the time, it isn't about you at all. It's about what you reflect. Carl Jung once said that everything we dislike in others tells us something about ourselves. That thought alone changes everything. It means every insult, every dismissal, every act of cruelty might be a projection of what someone refuses to face within. Human behavior is rarely what it seems. Beneath every reaction lies an unseen story, shaped by fear, insecurity, and the hidden corners of the mind. When you begin to notice these patterns, you stop taking things so personally. You start to see that the way people treat you is not a verdict. It's a signal. A message from the unconscious world of others, whispering through their actions. And once you see that, you stop giving your power away. You begin to take it back, piece by piece. Let's uncover the 7 reasons people treat you badly, and how to take your power back. 1. They see in you what they deny in themselves. Every person carries a shadow, the part of themselves they don't want to see. It holds the traits we reject, the emotions we deny, the thoughts we pretend not to have. And when we can't face those things within, we begin to see them everywhere else. That's when mistreatment begins. People may dislike you, not because of who you are, but because something in you quietly reminds them of what they've buried. Maybe your confidence mirrors their insecurity. Maybe your calm exposes their chaos. Whatever it is, it threatens the image they've built to feel safe. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." When someone treats you badly, it might be their unconscious directing them. Not reason, not truth, but fear of their own reflection. Taking your power back begins with awareness. Don't chase their approval. Don't shrink to make them comfortable. See their reaction for what it is, a signal of something unresolved within them. And then, look at yourself too. Ask, what part of me does this situation reveal? The moment you can see both sides, theirs and yours, the energy changes. You stop being caught in the shadow's grip. You become the observer, not the target. That's how you take your power back, by seeing clearly what others can't bear to face, in you or in themselves. Now, let's move to the next reason. 2. You don't play the role they expect. Every person wears a mask, what Carl Jung called the persona. It's the version of ourselves we show the world, polite, composed, acceptable. It helps us survive, fit in, and be liked. But the mask is not the whole truth. Beneath it lives everything we hide, our doubts, our fears, our raw humanity. And sometimes when you stop pretending and begin to live closer to your truth, people react. They sense the difference. Your honesty challenges their disguise. People who depend on their mask feel uneasy around those who don't. Your presence exposes what they've spent years covering up. So, instead of facing that discomfort, they turn it outward, through criticism, distance, or hostility. Not because they hate you, but because they can't bear the mirror you've become. Jung taught that the persona is necessary, but dangerous when mistaken for the real self. When someone treats you badly for simply being genuine, remember this. You didn't break a rule. You broke an illusion. And illusions fight to survive. Taking your power back means no longer hiding to make others comfortable. You don't need to explain or defend your truth. Your calm authenticity is enough. Let your presence be steady, not performative. Let others keep their masks. You've outgrown yours. Now, let's move to the next reason. 3. Your calm disarms. Their chaos. The mind is clever. When it doesn't want to face something within, it finds a way to see it somewhere else. Carl Jung called this projection, the act of throwing our hidden thoughts and emotions onto others. It's one of the most common reasons people treat you badly. When someone sees in you a quality they dislike in themselves, they attack it, not knowing it's their own reflection they're fighting. They might call you arrogant when what they really fear is their own inadequacy. They might call you cold when they've forgotten how to connect. They might judge you harshly for traits they secretly wish they had the courage to express. Projection turns perception into distortion. It blurs the line between what you are and what they imagine you to be. That's why some people never see you clearly. Their own unresolved emotions fog the glass between you. But here's the secret. When you understand projection, you stop reacting to it. You stop defending yourself against what was never truly about you. You learn to observe instead of absorb. You hear their words, but you don't let them define you. You see their judgment as information, about them, not you. Taking your power back means recognizing when someone's anger or disdain is a mirror, not a message. You are not responsible for their reflection. You only need to stay aware, grounded in who you are, not who they imagine you to be. The moment you stop fighting the illusion loses its grip. Now, let's move to the next reason. 4. You set boundaries they can't cross anymore. Every person carries battles they haven't finished fighting. Some are small, quiet tensions buried under years of pretending to be fine. Others are heavier, old wounds that never healed, shaping how they see the world without them even knowing it. Carl Jung believed that what we don't face in ourselves doesn't disappear. It moves underground, into the unconscious. And from there, it directs behavior in ways we can't see. When someone treats you badly, it might be their unresolved conflict speaking, not their conscious self. Their tone, their anger, their indifference, all guided by something deep and hidden. You might simply be standing where their pain happens to echo. You trigger what they haven't named. They're not fighting you. They're fighting what you awaken in them. It's strange, isn't it? To realize that cruelty can come from confusion, not evil, from pain, not power. But understanding this doesn't mean you must accept mistreatment. It means you stop personalizing it. Taking your power back begins when you stop taking ownership of someone else's inner conflict. You didn't cause it, you can't fix it, and you don't have to carry it. Hold your ground with quiet clarity. Let their storm pass without stepping into it. Compassion doesn't mean exposure. You can understand their struggle without becoming part of it. Because once you recognize that their behavior is shaped by what lies beneath their awareness, you free yourself from trying to solve what was never yours to solve. Now, let's move to the next reason. 5. You no longer need their approval. Emotions move between people like invisible currents. When someone enters a room filled with tension, everyone feels it, even without a word. That's the quiet power of emotional exchange. Carl Jung often spoke about the subtle influence people have on each other. How moods, attitudes, and hidden feelings can pass silently from one mind to another. It's not mystical. It's human. We absorb what we're surrounded by. People who feel powerless often try to shift that feeling by stirring emotion in others. They spread frustration, provoke reaction, drain calmness, because chaos gives them a fleeting sense of control. When you respond with anger, they win. When you absorb their heaviness, they regain balance. at your expense. But here's where your power begins. You don't have to play their emotional game. You can learn to stay still when they expect you to shake, to stay quiet when they want your reaction, to remain clear when they project confusion. When you refuse to take in their energy, it returns to them. And that's something most people can't face, their own unrest reflected back. Taking your power back means mastering your response. It's not about silence or withdrawal, it's about awareness. You see their pattern, but you don't feed it. You feel their energy, but you don't become it. Your calmness becomes a kind of mirror, one they can't control, only confront. And in that stillness, your strength grows quietly. Now, let's move to the next reason. 6. You reflect their unhealed parts. When you don't define your worth, someone else will. And they rarely value you higher than they value themselves. That's how mistreatment begins to take root. Not always through malice, but through your silence. Carl Jung believed that a person's task in life is individuation, becoming who they truly are, apart from the expectations and opinions of others. When you haven't yet claimed that inner identity, you become vulnerable to the voices around you. Every insult feels personal. Every judgment cuts too deep, because you've left your worth open for negotiation. People sense when you haven't anchored yourself. They can feel when you seek approval instead of standing in quiet certainty. And some use that to their advantage, to feel taller by making you smaller. But here's the shift. When you begin to know who you are, really know, their words start to lose weight. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself to those determined not to understand. And in that silence, your power returns. Self-value doesn't shout. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply stands there, steady, calm, unshakable. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to prove anything. Taking your power back means remembering that worth isn't something people give you. It's something you uncover within yourself. Once you see it, no one can take it away, no matter how they treat you. Now, let's move to the final reason. 7. You're breaking a pattern. They're still stuck in life has a strange way of repeating itself until you finally notice the pattern. The same types of people, the same conflicts, the same feeling of being misunderstood or mistreated. Different faces, same lesson. Carl Jung believed that what remains unconscious will continue to appear in our lives as fate. In other words, what we refuse to see within ourselves, we will keep meeting outside ourselves until we recognize it. So when you find yourself asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" that's not a punishment. It's an invitation, a quiet signal that you're standing in front of a pattern that's ready to end. People may treat you badly because they're part of that pattern, the final reflection of an old lesson asking to be understood. And the moment you see it clearly, something changes. Awareness breaks repetition. You no longer react the same way. You stop defending, stop explaining, stop chasing. You simply see and choose differently. Taking your power back here means stepping out of the cycle. You stop waiting for others to change, and you change your response instead. You recognize the lesson, you take the wisdom, and you walk away lighter. The pattern ends with you, the moment you decide it does. Now, let's bring it all together. There's a quiet turning point in every journey. The moment you stop asking, "Why do they treat me this way?" and start asking, "Why do I keep giving them the power to?" Carl Jung believed that emotions are not weaknesses to be controlled, but messages from the unconscious, signals of something deeper trying to be understood. The problem is, most of us don't listen. We react. We hand our emotions over to whoever provokes them first. Someone disrespects you, and you feel anger. Someone ignores you, and you feel small. Someone lies, and you lose your peace. Piece by piece, your energy scatters in every direction but inward. That's how power leaks, quietly, emotionally, through reaction. Reclaiming emotional authority begins when you notice the pattern. You start to see how others can pull the strings of your inner world without ever touching you. Their words spark your defenses. Their tone decides your mood. Their silence shapes your self-worth. But what if you stopped letting them? Emotional authority doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you start choosing how you feel. You pause before the reaction. You ask, is this emotion truly mine, or did I absorb it from someone else? You let the feeling pass through instead of building a home inside you. Because when you react without awareness, you give away your autonomy. But when you respond with intention, you reclaim it. That pause between impulse and response, that's where your freedom lives. You begin to understand that calmness is not passivity. It's control. It's not indifference. It's wisdom. The understanding that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every insult requires a wound. Some people feed on reaction because it confirms their power. But your silence, your composure, your refusal to be emotionally pulled, that unsettles them. It reminds them that they don't control the atmosphere of your mind anymore. Taking your power back isn't loud. It doesn't come with speeches or defiance. It happens in stillness, when you choose awareness over chaos, restraint over reaction, and peace over the endless pull of provocation. That is emotional authority. It is the quiet return of yourself to yourself. And from that place of inner stability, you no longer absorb what isn't yours to carry. Because true power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from mastering your own inner weather. There is a quiet kind of freedom that comes when you finally stop trying to control what isn't yours to control. It doesn't arrive suddenly. It comes in moments. Moments when you no longer chase understanding from those who misunderstand you. Moments when you stop explaining yourself to those who don't want to listen. Moments when you realize that peace isn't found in being right, it's found in being free. Carl Jung often spoke of individuation, becoming whole by standing apart from what confines you. It's not about isolation or distance. It's about returning to yourself. Detachment is a part of that return. It's the ability to stand within chaos and remain unshaken, to observe emotion without being ruled by it, to let the world spin without losing your balance. We're taught that caring means holding on to people, to outcomes, to the need to fix what's broken. But holding on too tightly blurs the line between love and self-abandonment. You begin to mistake exhaustion for loyalty. You call tension connection. You confuse suffering with meaning. True detachment changes that. It doesn't make you numb. It makes you clear. It teaches you to care deeply without collapsing inward. To help without losing yourself in the helping. To see others' pain without making it your home. When you practice detachment, you start to understand the difference between empathy and entanglement. Empathy says, I feel with you. Entanglement says, I'll carry it for you. The first is compassion. The second is self-erasure. And you were never meant to disappear in the name of kindness. Detachment gives you permission to step back and let others face their own reflection. You stop absorbing what was never meant to live inside you. You stop fighting battles that were never yours to win. You stop expecting closure from those who can't offer it. You begin to see that every person must walk through their own lessons, and your job is not to walk it for them, but to walk beside them without losing your footing. Taking your power back through detachment means letting things fall away naturally. You stop forcing connection where understanding has expired. You stop reaching for explanations from those committed to misunderstanding. You learn that sometimes silence is the highest form of self-respect. Detachment is not coldness. It's warmth with boundaries. It's love without control. It's peace that doesn't depend on permission. It's standing tall in your own clarity, knowing that what is meant for you will never need to be chased. Because when you let go, you don't lose anything real. You only lose the illusion that holding tighter would somehow save it. And that is the quiet power of detachment. To walk away without anger, to release without resentment, to stand alone and still feel whole. There comes a stage after all the lessons, a quieter one, a point where you no longer rush to react, defend, or explain. You simply begin to watch. Not with judgment, not with indifference, but with understanding. Carl Jung believed that the act of observing is transformative in itself. When you bring awareness to something, a thought, a behavior, a wound, it begins to lose its unconscious power over you. You no longer move blindly through life, repeating patterns you don't see. You begin to notice. That noticing is the doorway to freedom. To become the observer is to step out of the storm and finally see the weather. You recognize the patterns of others without being pulled into them. You see someone's anger and understand it comes from their fear. You see their silence and sense their shame. You see their cruelty and know it's protection, not strength. You stop taking things personally because you begin to understand that most people are not interacting with you. They're interacting with their own reflection of you. When you live as the observer, you stop being the target of every emotion around you. You become a witness to it. You start noticing your own thoughts rise and fall like waves, anger, pride, envy, sadness, all passing through, none of them permanent. You don't fight them. You just see them for what they are. Temporary visitors. This perspective changes everything. It turns reaction into reflection, conflict into understanding, and chaos into clarity. You begin to sense the subtle power of neutrality, not the emptiness of not caring, but the fullness of seeing clearly. From this space, you can choose your response carefully, consciously, instead of being dragged by impulse or habit. Becoming the observer doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you start witnessing your feelings instead of being consumed by them. You can stand inside your own emotion and still see the world clearly. You can hold both pain and wisdom in the same breath. In this way, awareness becomes your protection. It doesn't shield you from life. It lets you move through it awake. When you master observation, you become untouchable in a quiet way. Not because life stops testing you, but because you stop mistaking every test for an attack. You stop absorbing the moods of others. You stop drowning in their projections. You simply see. And in that seeing, that still, clear moment between impulse and response, your power quietly returns to where it always belonged, back to you. People's behavior reveals their own unseen battles. Your task is not to fight them, but to understand the pattern and step outside of it. Because once you see what's hidden, you are free.